You know, in this show, I like to keep things positive all the time. Forget that this time. We're talking about 2021's most unimproved players of the entire year. You know, people say new year, new me. This is like players that basically started the year off and they were like, you know what? I'm going to drop the ball. So that's exactly what I'm going to cover in today's video. The most unimproved player of every single NBA team. But before the video starts, please be an OG, join the pack, and subscribe. Hey, let's get the video started. And we start off with the Philadelphia 76ers with Andre Drummond. So Andre Drummond was on Cleveland and the Lakers last season, and he was an 85 overall, and now he's an 80 overall. However, I think this is going to be the only player on this list that got downgraded, but he's better somehow. I think Audrey Drummond's true calling was to be a role player. I said it. And for his whole career, he was been treated as this, like he's supposed to be some superstar, when in reality, his game just doesn't work in today's NBA anymore as a primary option. But when you're a role player, a rebounder, defender, you're actually not too bad. And on the Sixers, off the bench, you know what? He kind of works. So I think this is the only player that got downgraded by a lot, and it like kind of didn't matter. The next player on the Milwaukee Bucks was actually Demarcus Cousins. From a 81 to a 75, Demarcus Cousins has been on a ridiculous decrease throughout his career the past couple years. It all started with going to the Warriors and being injured. You know, he was literally dominating in Sacramento. In the 2 years he was in New Orleans, he was playing really well. But then he went to the Warriors and he slowed down. And then ever since then, he's been injured, hopping teams. Here he is on the Bucks, trying to ring chase, and I don't blame him, right? But you know what, still, if he can just provide anything off the bench, I think at the end of the day, he's good enough, right? Now, the next player is on the Chicago Bulls, Nicola Bousevich. Vooch is used to being the best #1 option on a team for his entire career until now. Now that he's on Chicago and now that they don't need him to be that guy, he has been essentially a role player for the team. And he's been good, but obviously not the Bousevich that we know. So -5 for him for the entire year, making him the 4th best player on the Bulls instead of the best player on the Magic, right? Now for the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was kind of hard to find someone. Kevin Love was the only person that got decreased this year, and lately he's been playing better. So even then, this team has been winning a lot and doing a lot better than last season. So obviously, there's going to be very little downgrades. Kevin Love -2, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back up to an 82 in the next roster update. So there you go. Now, for the Boston Celtics, the only player that I could find was Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson was a 80 overall in the Mavericks. When he was on the Mavericks, we were like, dude, this is finally that third piece for the Mavericks that they were needing to be a great team. And instead, he was mediocre. And now on the Celtics, he's super mediocre. And it's crazy how that changed in 1 year when he's supposed to be in his prime. It's wild. Now, for the Clippers, I think you guys aren't going to be surprised with Serge Ibaka, right? From an 80 overall to a 74. Ibaka has been pretty consistently a great player for his entire career. It is just recently, now that he was injured and coming back from injury, he's been pretty right? Serge Ibaka, 74 overall this season, not even the 10th best player on the Clippers, and this Clippers team does not have a lot of talent. So, kind of crazy for him. You would think he'd be stepping up right now to help Paul George. But at the moment, it's not the case. Now, for the Memphis Grizzlies, it's actually Brandon Clark all the way back here from an 80 overall to a 77. Brandon Clark was looking like the 3rd best player on the Grizzlies for a couple, I guess for a whole year, honestly. And then now, he's not even the 10th best player on the team. So what happened? Desmond Bane, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, all kind of stepping up, and then even Kyle Anderson and Anthony Melton. So it kind of just put Brandon Clark on the back burner. But he's young, he's 24 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and starts playing a lot better. Now, for the Atlanta Hawks, it is going to be a massive downgrade for Lou Williams, -7 for the year. So he was an 81, he was a 6th man of the year candidate. Now he barely plays. It's a massive change for him, but you know, it was bound to happen. This dude's been way too consistent for way too long. At some point, he was going to slow down, and it's now. For the Miami Heat, it is absolutely Kyle Lowry, -5. You know, Kyle Lowry has been a player that on every roster update that goes up 1 and down 1 every roster update, and stayed around the 86, 87 overall range. But now he's an 82 overall. On the Miami Heat, they don't need him as hard as the Raptors needed him, so his rating isn't as extremely high, and that's okay, right? He's still a great NBA player, 85 years old as a point guard, which is rare. Right? But still, he's just not the player that he once was. Now, for the Charlotte Hornets, the only change I saw was Gordon Hayward -1. This entire team has been playing out of their mind. Way, way, way better. So, obviously, at that point, you just got to acknowledge that only going -1 is your biggest downgrade for a year is pretty impressive. So, Gordon Hayward Not bad. For the Utah Jazz, it was someone I kind of forgot about, Eric Pascal. On the Warriors, Eric was kind of going nuts. He was a freaking 79 overall, and now he's a 74 overall. So -5 for him. He was a lot better on the Warriors, but then again, the Warriors were bad, and they were letting other players shine. And on the Jazz, they don't need him to, so that's probably what's going on with him. But he's young, he still has time to grow, but it's just like, it's weird that he got so much worse so quickly. For the Kings, you will never be surprised at this. Marvin Bagley III. I mean, -3. I didn't even know he could go down because of how bad he was last year too, and the year before that, and every year. It's crazy how this guy goes down every year, and you didn't think that was possible. But here we are. Someone who's supposed to be entering his prime is somehow regressing. He makes zero sense. I do not understand Marvin Bagley in the slightest. Now, for the New York Knicks, it is absolutely Kemba Walker, who gets a -7 from a 86, which is a borderline or an all-star straight up, to a 79, who is a bench player. That's nuts. That's a big change in just a year, but that's what the Knicks have done to him. Even though he's starting to play better lately, it's just a really weird situation for New York and Kemba Walker. Now, for the Los Angeles Lakers, I thought it was going to be Anthony Davis with -4, but it's actually Russell Westbrook -6, and I'm going to keep it real with you. Russell Westbrook has been more consistent and been playing better than Anthony Davis has, so that's my opinion. Now, for the Magic, I didn't know it was possible, but Michael Carter-Williams goes -4. I didn't know who. I thought Michael Carter-Williams has been injured, but he did play in the beginning of the year pretty good, I remember, for the Magic. So he's a weird one. He's always been a weird NBA player, and going -4 isn't really a surprise, I guess. For the Dallas Mavericks, it is going to be Willie Cauley-Stein -3 from a 77 to a 74 to a borderline starting center to a borderline not on the roster anymore. Pretty big change for him. He's had so much talent and so many like opportunities in his career, and just never really shows that he can be that guy, and that's just what I'm seeing. For the Brooklyn Nets, we have ding ding ding, the most unimproved player of the year, and that is Blake Griffin, -8 from an 83 to a 75, from a borderline all-star to someone who is barely playing. Blake Griffin has been bad, and it's because he's been attacked by injuries for his entire career. So yeah, I mean, he averaged 11 last season, which isn't too bad, but 2 seasons ago he was averaging 25 points on good efficiency. 2 years ago. That's crazy, dude. Blake Griffin, I feel like Blake Griffin has been robbed of a great career because of injuries and situations, but at the end of the day, he's on the Nets, and maybe he could win a championship with them, but it is what it is. But honorable mention on this team is James Harden -7. Yeah, he's also one of the most unimproved players, and not even the most unimproved on his team, which is kind of crazy. For the Denver Nuggets, we have Michael Porter Jr. with a -1, and now he's injured for the year, so it doesn't even matter. This team has very little downgrades because either the good players are injured or the bad players are now getting a chance to play, so they're going up, so no one's going down, and that's what's happening here. For the Indiana Pacers, it is obviously TJ Warren. This man, ever since the bubble, have you noticed that ever since the bubble, he just hasn't played basketball? Dude, he was averaging 30 in the bubble, 30, and then he just came back and didn't do well, and then he got hurt again. It's like, it's crazy. For the Pelicans, it is Devontae Graham. There was a little stretch where he was averaging 20 points on the Hornets. The Pelicans picked him up. They were hoping that they were going to get something special with him, and he kind of hasn't delivered on that yet. -3 for him for the year, and yeah, he's been mediocre. No Pistons downgrade at all. Now, the reason for that being is because you can't really go down when you're already bad, so there's that. Now, for the Raptors, it is going to be Goran Dragic. How fast this man's career has fallen, but then again, he's 35 years old. He is not playing in the NBA right now. -5 for him from an 81 to a 76. I don't even think he's played a game for the Raptors yet, I think. But yeah, I mean, this was a 13-point per game scorer on decent efficiency, and now he's not even playing he's not even playing anymore. It's just crazy. So for the Rockets, no change. Same thing with the Pistons. Can't really go down with if no one's good in the first place. So for the Spurs, it is actually Doug McDermott from a 76 to a 74. The Spurs paid a lot of money to get him on this team. He was supposed to be an amazing three-point shooter, and he just has like stretches where he doesn't even show up. So that's basically what's going on with the Spurs. For the Suns, it is absolutely Elfrid Payton from a 77 to a 74. He was the starting point guard for the Knicks last season, who were a playoff team, to maybe one of the worst point guards in basketball today. That's crazy. For the Thunder, Derek Favors from an 80 to a 77. I mean, it's not a big deal for him. It's just he's on a team that he doesn't really care about being on, so that's gonna happen. For the Timberwolves, Cat Cat, -2 from a 90 to an 88, which is crazy because I feel like he's having himself a great season. So very odd that he went down. In fact, this makes me feel like he should be at 90 overall and that he shouldn't have gone down in the first place. So that's weird. For the Trailblazers, obviously Damian Lillard -5. And yeah, this team is losing. This team is unacceptably bad. And Dame's a part of it. This one's going to get some of you mad. Klay Thompson -2. He hasn't played. How can he go down? He was an 89, now he's an 87. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. And then finally for the Wizards, it is a robbery man, Davis Bertans, who just robbed the Wizards of money. Like, he was playing so good, they gave him a big contract, and he's been awful. From a 79, one of the best dribble shooters in basketball, to a 75, and like overnight. It's crazy. So that's that. So that's the most unimproved players of the NBA for every NBA team. What do y'all think? Leave it in the comments below. If you like the channel, please give it a sub. I'll see you guys next time.